Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today's episode is sponsored by Replicant, and today our guest is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Replicant, Benjamin Gleitzman. Replicant is the AI platform contact centers trust to resolve more customer requests and elevate agent performance. A lifelong builder and innovator, Benjamin leads the technology vision behind Replicant's enterprise-grade AI agents and QA tools, solutions designed to scale with complexity and deliver results. Before Replicant, Benjamin co-founded a machine learning startup focused on predictive analytics, which was acquired by eBay to power a more intuitive shopping experience. Benjamin holds a degree from MIT, where he worked with renowned Professor Hal Abelson to enhance computer science education using mobile devices. Benjamin was also a visiting researcher at Google Research, where he created App Inventor for Android, a drag-and-drop programming tool now central to MIT Center for Mobile Learning. Outside of work, Benjamin is passionate about electronic music. He's a programming enthusiast and the creator of WikiMaze, a trivia game inspired by the nostalgic charm of Encarta 95. Please enjoy Benjamin Gleitzman. Benjamin, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast and welcome to LA. So excited to have you as a new neighbor. How does it feel?
Thanks so much. Really happy to be here. It's been great. I love getting to know new cities, and I've been exploring not only this neighborhood but out, in the areas that you are as well. And it's been great. It's also interesting. I try to call everything I can over voice and like talk to their AI agents and what other kind of automation they have, whether it's placing restaurant orders or needing to get a tire repaired. So there's a lot of opportunities in LA to make a phone call and see how people are doing or maybe not doing so well in the world of voice AI.
Well, yeah. So being a technologist and being a customer focused technologist, you always see the world so differently because you're aware, you know what the potential is. It's so nice to meet you, even though we could have done this in person, but that's okay. We'll do it next time in person. Let's talk about you, your history. You're in such a cool position. How did you get into technology and tell us the elevator pitch of your career story?
Yeah, so I grew up in a pretty small town in West Virginia, and from a really early age, I was interested in robotics, and I said, "Wow, robotic technology is so interesting." I looked at, Carnegie Mellon was doing such interesting work around robotics, and from West Virginia, I had the opportunity to go and live in Japan for a while. I did a remote exchange to live there for about a year, and I came back to work there. I worked at a company called Advanced Telecommunications Research. It's like the IBM of Japan. And at that time, they were building android humanoid robots. They looked like real people. They had real looking skin. They had real looking hair. Um, but the one thing they couldn't quite do was speak. Whenever it opened its mouth, it was always it sounded very robotic. And so uh, the illusion was broken whenever this machine would open its mouth. That was back in 2004. And so flash forward to now, we finally come up with the technologies that are necessary to synthesize a voice that can be fast and accurate and contextual. And now that we have this voice synthesis, it can be used in all sorts of realms. The Replicant is obviously a company that works in the field of conversational AI. So we're doing automated phone calls as well as intelligence around those phone calls and calls that are being placed. So it was a bit of a journey from being interested in a robotic technology, getting kind of excited by the allure of how voice communication would work and a lot of the nuance around how voice is done. It's almost like a dance, right? If you are having a good conversation with someone, you're in the groove. You're not stepping on each other's toes. And so I think when people speak with an automation over the phone, they probably never had a good conversation with a machine. And so I think we're only now in the past couple of years able to move from, oh, I've got this robot and it's so annoying that I have to talk to going to, wow, that was actually a fantastic conversation with a machine that got me an answer faster than I could have gotten with maybe even speaking with a human agent.
So I love that you, Benjamin, are using your move from the North Pacific Northwest to LA as an opportunity to like test the barometer of AI to see how are companies using this? Like where are the opportunities to improve? Because like so many technology stories, some companies are doing such a good job, but most companies are still down here. So where is
Hmm.
this gap coming from? How do we solve the gap in just creating better, seamless interactions with technology?
Yes, interesting to see how fast it's moving because for years we were really in an area where voice automation was super rule based. It was super limited, it was very inflexible, and the technology has changed, but I think customer expectations have changed as well. When you dial, a beloved company of yours, you want to get service really quickly. And that service isn't just the answer to an FAQ question. You've probably already looked at the FAQs on the website. Maybe you've already talked with a chatbot on the website. When you call, especially over the voice channel, you want to resolve what can be a pretty complex problem. And so the shift I'm seeing in the industry is this isn't just a FAQ or Q&A style automation that kind of stops short of fully resolving a complex problem, but it's actually driving real business outcomes that are often more complex than the questions that people had asked before, and the customer demands are a little bit higher because everyone's talked with ChatGPT. Everyone's had a really good conversation with one of these new kind of voice to voice automations. And the challenge then becomes how do you make this thing safe? How do you make this thing secure? How do you deal with the hallucinations and things like this? And so we're in a new realm that's exciting for people to see. But there's still a lot of considerations from the contact center on, how do we get there from here, and who is the correct partner going to be that's going to take me into this new world of automation that is very exciting, is very promising, but also has some pitfalls and some negative steps that you can take as well.
When voice works well and AI works well, it's incredible. It's literally the best experience that reduces stress for customers and makes customers' lives easier and better, and employees as well.
Hmm.
We've been through traditional automation for 30, 40 years in the contact center world. Why isn't what tell me about traditional automation and why it's just not enough anymore?
Yeah, I think that for people who've been in these replacement cycles in the contact center, they've seen a lot of promising things over the years. I used to work in a call center. I worked at the MIT help desk, and kind of help pay for my way through college. And we had an IVR system, and you could press one for support, and you could press two to talk to a person, and you could press three to leave a message. And I think that there was a shift in kind of like the mid 90s and early 2000s that was, hey, we're going to move from touch tone digit presses into you can say billing. You can say that you want to speak with a person. You can use these keywords and kind of have keyword matching. But even as that was as interesting as it was that you could use your voice to communicate rather than having to touch a number on a phone, it was still extremely flowchart based. It was still extremely rule based, and there were extremely complex rule based systems that were created. And some of these got us pretty far, but there's kind of natural endpoint to how much you can really resolve the kind of complexity of problems that you can address when you just have these rule based flows. And so flash forward to now, real time language understanding and the generative reasoning that we can get out of large language models have totally changed the game. So it's not just how do I program my AI to be able to recite the right answer to a question, but how do I have an AI that can respond, that can adapt, that can resolve, that can deal with the unhappy path that you might go down when there isn't the expected behavior from the caller? Um, People want to be dynamic like that on the phone, and they want to be able to have a conversation that goes beyond just the basic FAQs. That wasn't possible even a year ago with these massive rule trees, but now we do have the technology to support like the nuanced multi-turn conversations that people want to have. And we've got the technology to also back it up. So it's a really interesting time in the industry. I know everyone's excited about AI and where it's moving, but voice AI in the contact center is the most interesting that I've seen throughout my entire career.
So let's talk about one of my favorite topics in business and in life. Let's talk about complexity.
Hmm.
Because when things are good, it's easy. We all know what to do at work, at home. But when things get complex, that separates the stronger performers from the laggards. So, what are some of these complex interactions that customer experience leaders are having trouble getting around with AI?
Yeah, I think that, up to now, it was okay to just say, hey, can my AI answer a question? People are going to call in with questions. We want to give them answers. So let's hook it into an FAQ system. Let's hook it into something that can kind of answer those questions. And now the shift I'm seeing and what people are really demanding when they call into a contact center is, can it solve a problem? Can this actually fully resolve my issue from end to end? And we call that, you know, first call resolution or full call resolution. And I think it's that resolution that people are looking for that leads to the complexity of the calls. With Replicant, we've automated over 500 million minutes of AI conversations over the years. And so we've seen the types of complex conversations that you can have. One might be in emergency roadside service, which is something that I needed after I'd moved to LA. I was driving from LA to San Diego, and my tire popped. And actually, the rim was sort of destroyed as well. So it was a really kind of, it was a scary issue with the car. It could have been a lot worse. And so had to call emergency roadside service and got an AI agent on the phone that was provided by Replicant. And right away, you can really see the difference in quality when it comes down to how does the voice sound, how fast are the responses, and being able to guide me through extremely complex questions. Where are you located? Oh, I don't know. I'm pulled off somewhere kind of randomly on the side of a highway. Okay, let me text you a link, and you can open that up and use the GPS on the phone to kind of understand where you're located. Behind the scenes, after we're doing this very complex collection for a roadside issue, we're also then placing outbound calls to a tire shop on the back end. And so you might have one inbound call that has a very complex interaction. You're collecting email addresses, membership numbers, alphanumeric numbers. This was all very difficult to collect in kind of the classic and old world of conversational AI. But now with a lot of generative technologies, it's becoming easier and easier to kind of like collect these things. But you get this sort of Rube Goldberg machine where I place an inbound call for roadside service, then 6 or 7 outbound calls might be placed to tire shops. Who can go and pick this person up right now? Who's the closest tow truck that can go and get the individual? That's then kind of relayed back to me. And while I was then waiting there on the side of the highway, I'm getting updates, often over voice, of where the person is and whether they're going to be delayed. So you're moving from maybe the traditional was you would call in and say, I need roadside service. There was a keyword that was recognized of roadside service, and you're being handed over to a person. Now, that entire perhaps high stakes interaction could be handled completely by a machine. And I think that's going to be the expectation that people have going forward, that the highly complex and the issues that require empathy or that might require a kind of higher level of human understanding are going to be necessary and needed on the calls.
So I can imagine where you were at driving from LA to San Diego. January was such a tough month for LA residents, and you had just moved here and you were
Mm-hmm.
evacuated and the fires, and it was such a difficult time. I can imagine the stress you felt while you're driving, and I'm guessing that was on the freeway, maybe the 405 South, that your tire popped on the way to San Diego. Is that right?
Yeah, geez, there was like a huge like rock like right in the middle of the road, and it's weird because we were able to get off kind of to the side of the highway and pull off there, and there were actually 3 other people who had kind of hit the same rock on the road,
Oh
and so
no.
there was a whole like block of people who were there, but it was an extremely stressful situation. It's something where people want to have an answer and a resolution immediately,
Yeah.
and we're seeing where previously there might have been a hesitation to talk to a machine. Previously, there might have been a desire to say, I have to talk with a person. There's no way that a machine is going to resolve my issue. But in fact, when you do speak with the machine, it's probably now faster than what a human agent could do. Not just because there might be a hold time to actually get to a person, but you think about all of the API requests that can happen in the background. Let's find out exactly who this person is. Oh, you're speaking with Benjamin. Let's verify his membership number. Let's see if we know what car he's already driving. And so there's a lot that the AI can do behind the scenes that is kind of putting them on par or even a little bit better than the human agents. And the nice thing about that is because the routine requests and the issues that might come into the contact center are handled by the AI, you can use your human agents for things that might require even more, empathy. There's been an accident and someone's injured. Well, we really don't want the AI to handle that particular problem. So let's get that over to the human agent, and they can use, what humans are really great at: creativity, empathy, talk the person through what the issue is going to be. For the routine, my tire popped and I probably got to get a tow truck. Let's offload that to the AI so that the person gets a result a lot faster, and we can save the human agents for things that require.
So, one of the things I've noticed recently as a customer is that AI is still kind of rare. The other day,
Mm.
my husband and I were trying to book hotel through loyalty points through a major bank. And we called, and probably spent 20 minutes on the phone trying to fix an issue. And then it turned out we called the wrong department. And this is like the top bank in the United States. So then he said, "Would you like me to connect you with our other department? Because now you need to basically go and repeat yourself." And this is one of the top banks. So clearly, the rising costs on contact centers, it just feels like it's unnecessary. The experience is bad. Companies are spending all this money providing these terrible experiences. If it's so obvious that technology and AI can take out some of these headaches for employees and for customers, why are more brands not doing it?
Think there's a bit of a trap that people fell into with chatbots, where there was a chatbot that might have been implemented in the mid 2010s, or it's something that might have been kind of developed in house or internally. And, it gets a 5% resolution, maybe it gets 10% resolution, but there was a lot of effort that was put into deploying that chatbot. And maybe there were a lot of people internally who were employed to kind of like keep that chatbot running. And so there can be a kind of resistance to adopting the newer technology because they kind of already took a stab at it. And so
Mhm.
we're seeing a number of our partners who they've built something internally. They've used a third party service. They've tried Dialogflow. They've tried Lex, and they're getting some amount of resolution, but it's not really enough. And I think there can be a resistance to switch from one of those technologies that they've built in house to one of the more classic rule based or flowchart based technologies, because yes, you're going to 2x, 3x, 4x your resolution, but you're still only going to have 20% of these calls resolved. And it's going to frustrate callers, and it leads to some customer satisfaction issues and things like this. With the latest wave, where you've got generative AI, now I think you're actually able to see where the experience can be a little bit better than even you might expect with a human agent. And it's not to say that you have no need for the human agent in the contact center, because, like I expressed before, with things that require like a high level of empathy, yes, you're going to have a person who's there. But um, call most companies in America, what percentage of those calls are going to be automated? 1%, half a percent, a tenth of a percent, and what percentage of those technologies are going to use the latest kind of generative tech? It's an extremely small number, as you mentioned.
All right, so let's switch gears and talk to some of the benefits of using these AI solutions like cost and experience. How quickly are your clients realizing these gains?
Interestingly, when people were deploying the kind of technologies that we were creating back in like 2020 and 2021, I thought the Replicant was really fast. We were deploying in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, where other people were taking 3 months, 6 months, 12 months to actually reach a deployment. Um, the timeline has only gotten faster. I think that's a big accelerator. AI is accelerating everything. It's not only accelerating the technology that's used to better understand what a person is saying or create a voice that sounds a lot better. It's also shrinking and shortening these delivery times that it takes to actually get something out and into the contact center. I'll also call out, we have a fantastic delivery team. There's a lot of people and people processes that go into delivering a really fantastic AI agent. We've got conversational intelligence sort of linguists in house as well, who they understand how a good conversation should go. Because even if you've got a really fantastic transcription system and a voice that sounds really good, it's still possible to build a conversation that sounds pretty bad. And so there's a lot of folks who are spending their time day in and day out understanding how conversations work and how to make them work well. Um, in addition to the conversation automation product that we offer, which is the talking AI agent, we also have a lot of conversation intelligence tools as well. So when you called into that contact center and you were getting transferred from place to place to place, we can track that call. We can understand that not just you, but 15, 20, 25% of people are getting transferred from place to place. And we can highlight those issues for contact center leaders who probably know that they have a problem. They know that people are being routed and misrouted from the wrong location, but they might not understand how big of a problem that's actually being for them. And so, with the intelligence tools paired with the automation tools, it means that the timeline can be extremely quick. And so, our fastest deployment was actually over a weekend. We signed the deal on Friday, and we were able to deploy by the following Tuesday. That was back in COVID times, and it was a kind of an all hands on deck scenario. But it's not uncommon for there to be, you know, a few weeks to go live with a particular deployment instead of having to wait months. Or in some situations, for some of these large banking customers or financial customers, I've seen them work with partners for years and still never quite get something live.
Absolutely. One quick question I have that just popped into my head is do customers know that this AI is AI and not a person?
Yeah, great question. From the beginning, we had a pretty strong draw to the ethics of voice AI and what we believe to be true. Um, we never want to hide or sort of cover up the fact that you're speaking with something that's robotic. We used to call our machine a thinking machine. You would say we're on, this is a thinking machine on a recorded line. Now we say we're an AI agent on a recorded line. So we put it right up front that you're speaking with an automation. Now, people might have a reaction to that. A lot of folks on the call will say, just like I had thought, when I was in an emergency roadside service situation, I don't know if an AI agent can actually resolve my problem right now. So I want to go and talk to a human agent. Um, and this is where the conversation design from a lot of the linguists that we have in house are very important. We don't want to lock anyone in bot land. If you want to go and talk with a human agent, of course you can go and talk with a human agent. But one of our conversation design principles is what's in it for me? Why should I spend time talking with this AI agent? And so we can do an API call into the contact center, say, hey, it's actually going to be 13 minutes to speak with a person, but I can help you right now with no wait time. Can I get your
Mhm.
name? Can I get your policy number? And kind of pull you back into the experience because, as you've said before, what percentage of people have actually talked with these next gen generative technologies in the contact center? An extremely small amount. And so, pretty much every time someone has a conversation with a replicant, it's the first time they're talking with something that has these advanced capabilities. And so, we're using those conversational design principles to kind of draw people back in while still being very honest and transparent that, yep, it's a machine, but it's the fastest, most accurate, probably best sounding machine that you've ever spoken.
As a busy working mom, Benjamin, without a lot of extra time, I 100% will go to the efficient solution every time. My hands are literally always full. So I love talking to a voice AI if it actually works properly, which a lot of them really don't. So I think there's a huge opportunity. Why do you think this is a now or never moment for brands when it comes to voice automation?
I hear you on the efficiency. It's like every time I look at the phone, I'm like, how long is this going to take me? And like, how many people am I going to get transferred through? And when the transfer happens, am I going to have to re-authenticate? And so, it's not just having a really great automation; it's also having the like intelligence product behind the scenes that's telling you Lake had to talk to 5 different people before she got to the right person, and then she had to re-authenticate when you spoke with that person. So I hear you on that. I think it's a now or never time because contact center leaders, they're under pressure to cut costs. They have to handle these rising call volumes, and they've got to boost their KPIs, average handle time, net promoter score. So I think that most people in the contact center are looking for a vendor that they can trust to be that partner that's going to take them into um, this rapidly evolving future of artificial intelligence. And as you've mentioned, if you've deployed something in the early 2000s or in the 2010s or even in the early years of the 2020s, it's probably just not up to par for what the customer expectations are today. But the good news is that AI has largely moved beyond the experimentation phase. You don't have to wait to kick the tires anymore. It's ready to handle the hard stuff, and it's ready to handle it at scale. And we've proved that over, this 500 million minutes of automated time. So those companies who embrace the technology and aren't just reducing their cost, but they're saying, yeah, I want to save some money, but I also want to figure out, how do I get a great customer satisfaction? How do I make sure that this phone call is improving my brand loyalty rather than frustrating a person and saying, "Well, I'm never going to buy from that vendor again." So now is the time where I'm seeing this dichotomy, this split between the companies and the customers who are going to say, "Yes, we're ready to dive into this world of AI," and folks who are still waiting to kind of like kick the tires and see how it's going to work because haves are going to move so much more quickly than the have-nots that there's going to be a pretty stark difference between the people who've adopted it and who haven't.
Let's look to the future, Benjamin. We have a few
Hmm.
minutes left. What is the future of AI? What's exciting? What innovation is exciting that we have to look forward to?
Wow, it's I think we need another hour for the podcast on to talk through that one. I mean, there's the technology is moving extremely quickly. And I think that's why I say that the people who adopt this technology are going to get such an advantage over others who are maybe waiting to see where this is going to go. But I see that the future isn't just more rules, it's more intelligence. It's better conversations. It's getting everything that you want, lowering costs and getting better customer satisfaction and getting more brand loyalty. Um, we now have AI models that they don't just answer questions, they can actually go through a reasoning process to mimic what's going to happen when we use human judgment on real world calls. So this is something that no chatbot could have done 5 years ago, and no voice bot could have done until relatively recently. So this vision of having an autonomous contact center where you don't just have a zillion agents and a little bit of AI on the side, it's actually going to be inverted. The customer is at the center. You're giving that customer a really fantastic experience. We know that you don't have a lot of time. We know that you're a single mom. We know that the baby's crying in the background. So it's like the the issues that are top of mind for individuals can fully be resolved by AI. And that's why I'm so proud to be at Replicant because we see the benefits that the callers have every day. We see that people are being surprised by how good the AI is. We see that at the end of the conversation, even though we've told someone that they're speaking with an artificial intelligence, they say thank you. They say, wow, they say that was great. They
Hmm.
shower praise on this robot because it's not just a frustrating experience that you have to stumble through on the way to getting to a person who then you have to re-authenticate with. It's full call resolution for extremely complex problems that happens on the first call and happens perhaps faster than you could get with a human agent. So the future is super bright. So proud of the team and the steps that we've taken to get here. If you're interested in talking with a technology like this, we have a showcase that you can try out. You can go to replicant.com/showcase and experience what it's like to talk to one of these next gen generative experiences where it is a little bit more of a complex problem. It's not just going to be that Q&A. I think the Q&A demos are a little bit of a dime a dozen today. If you dig into something that's actually more complex, the Replicant Showcase is where it's at.
Well, I'll have to check it out. And I'm really excited for the day my voice activated assistant can do my dishes. So if you could create that, that would be amazing.
Well,
No.
maybe that's coming back around to the robotics that really kind of piqued my interest in the early days. I think we'll start with voice and maybe we'll finish with dishes.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Let's get into some quick rapid fire. These are quick answers to my quick questions. Benjamin, are you game? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Mm.
Fire
All
away.
right. All right. What is the most important part of your morning routine?
Oof, not looking at my phone the first thing in the morning, especially being now on the West Coast. There's always a fire happening on the East Coast. There's a fire happening somewhere else. And so, centering myself, trying to eat some breakfast in the morning, maybe get a little bit of physical activity in before I dive in and see all the fires on Slack has been a game changer for me.
Love that. What show are you currently streaming?
Ooh, there's There's so many. One that I love is it's called Old Enough. It's a show from Japan. I used to live in Japan for quite some time, and it's got young kids. They're 3 years old, they're 4 years old, they're 5 years old, and they're going to the market to buy fish to go and pick up some laundry for their parents. And I love I love how trusting and high trust that society is. That kids who are 5 years old are being taken care of by the whole town. They're being taken care of by the whole village. It's a really cool thing to see, and kind of a stark contrast from maybe not being able to go beyond the edge of your block here in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. I would love to check that out. What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Woo! You know, I see a lot of technologists who really want to revert to kind of like an agrarian lifestyle. They want to go back and like start the farm. They want to go
Mhm.
start and they want to have some goats. They want to have some sheep. Um, that's interesting to me. Kind of growing up in West Virginia and coming up through 4-H, it's an agricultural program, and tending to some cows and raising sheep like that. Um, I'm looking forward to a time where artificial intelligence and technology allows us to be more present with other humans. I
Totally.
want
Yeah.
the technology to be doing the work on my behalf so that I can spend more time with people. And it's a little bit reversed right now. I'm seeing a lot of AI that's it's painting and creating music while I'm toiling away. And so I want to see a little bit of a role reversal there, where we're thinking about how this can be a benefit for people.
What is your favorite type of vacation?
Ooh. Just got back from vacation. Spent a week in Hawaii, and that was phenomenal. I love the beach. I love the heat. I love being warm. Uh, Got to go to Kauai and hike the Kalalau Trail, which, if you've seen Jurassic Park and the helicopter flies in over the like pristine jungle, it's what you're hiking through. I got to hike that trail 20 years ago, and then I got to hike it again this year, and um, it was just a phenomenal time to like go back and remember what that felt like. And yes, there's a little bit more, buildings have been built and things have changed in Kauai, but the people are still fantastic, and the food is still fantastic, and the trail is just as beautiful as it was before.
And if you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, foo, man, I love your rapid fire. This is great. Okay, probably yeah, let's go with somebody who, you know, think of kind of like computer scientists and the people who I draw my lineage from. I used to study with Hal Abelson, and he taught me so much about what it's like to be human centric and to think about human centric artificial intelligence. Um, Hal had studied with Seymour Papert, who had also studied with Piaget. And so when I trace my sort of AI lineage back, it's through Al Abelson and the way that he thinks about teaching human centered AI. It's Papert and Piaget thinking about how do humans learn? How do children learn? How can we take the ways that we as humans kind of learn and grow and extend that over into AI and the technology that we built, but still keep it human centered, because that's what we're building this technology for. It's for a bright future of humans and not a dystopian future of machines. So I think I'd do a lunch with let's get Hal and Papert and Piaget all together, and that'd be a great one for me.
Does that have to do with the computer in the what's that movie where they call the
Oh
computer
yeah,
Hal?
yeah, yeah, Hal. Yeah, when it's a little bit of a dystopian future there, but yeah, it's
What's the
a
movie? Is it 19
let's see. Yes, it's 2001: A
two
Space Odyssey.
Does that
Yes.
did your mentor have to do with that?
I don't know if Hal actually inspired it. That would be very interesting. He has been around for quite some time, but I
I'm gonna
think
look
that
that up.
yeah, we could do let's do a quick fact check on that one. But I think that there's a lot of Black Mirrors out there. There's a lot of 2001's A Space Odyssey out there. There's a lot of people who are worried about all the ways that technology is going to go wrong, and I get really excited about the ways that it's going to go right. And I think that it takes individuals at companies, people who are leading companies, and just everyone to kind of speak up and say, "Hey, I want this to work for me," rather than this being something that's limiting me or oppressing me. So I'm excited about a future where we do have that kind of human-centric technology and human-centric computing. So it's exciting to see. I
Absolutely.
hope we get there.
Absolutely. And lastly, if you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
Ooh, I'm going to borrow from Zach Cooper, who's the head of sales at Replicant, and he talks about mentality. I think that this is the year where I have the mentality of what we can use the technology that we're building to have a really impactful change, and how um, we can take this kind of haves versus have nots and step on the gas. Let's figure out how to give people really fantastic experiences. Let's have the mentality of not having to settle for less. Let's not make a trade off between cost and customer experience. Let's make all of the KPIs go in the correct direction. Let's have that mentality to make the change, because that's what people are demanding. That's what our customers are demanding. That's what our callers are demanding. That's what I know you want when you pick up the phone and you talk to a contact center. So I'm coming back to this word mentality.
Love it. Benjamin, if people want to learn more about you or Replicant, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, my name is Benjamin Gleitzman. You can find me at Gleitz, that's Gleitz, on most platforms. And I do encourage you to go and have a conversation with our AI agent. That's replicant.com/showcase. It's a really exciting experience, and hope it's the best conversation that you've ever had with a machine.
Well, I'm going to hop off this podcast and go talk to a machine and ask them if they can help me do my dishes. So, thank you so much for doing this show. Everybody, you've been tuning in to the Modern Customer Podcast. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like or subscribe and follow my social content on other platforms where I post content daily, including X, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and more.